Did you ever wonder how to use Ragdoll to basically get all of the physics elements to your player and make him move automatically based on how a normal human being would move if he falls down, for example? Well, then that's the right video, because in this video you're going to see how to use Ragdoll in Unity for your video games. Let's get started. Alright, so what is Ragdoll in Unity? And I think at the end of this video you will understand quite well what Ragdoll does and how we can use it, because basically that's the idea of this video. And if you want to read along and you want to have the code and all of that and don't want to type it in manually, you can check out the link in the description where you will find this article, because we really broke everything down with this bunch of screenshots and step-by-step guides, so you can follow along the script here as well. Okay, so let's get started. So basically Unity offers a simple wizard that lets you quickly create your own Ragdoll, and you can generate all colliders, rigid bodies and joints that make up the Ragdoll. So basically you can create something that looks like a human and feels like a human being when it comes to movement and when it comes to physics, without having to do everything manually. And a lot of it is done by Unity itself, so you don't even have to take care of many of the animations. It's made a lot easier and quicker. There are a bunch of new challenges that come with using Ragdolls, but in this video we're going to focus on the advantages, and we're going to make the character have Ragdolls and move. Okay, and we are going to use this character pack, so you definitely need to check out this asset here. You should get it. In my case, my settings are all in Japanese because I'm studying Japanese. So open in Unity, and you have to download it if you don't have it installed already, or if you have not downloaded this character pack already. So basically we're going to use this character here. You can see very simple character, and he even has this move animation, and he has everything that we need for this particular example. All right, so let's open that in Unity, and let's create a new project in Unity. So I'm going to call this one Ragdoll example, and we need 3D here, so it will be a 3D template and 3D project. And once Unity is loaded, that should open up. If it doesn't, then you basically just have to open it up. You go to Window and you go to Package Manager. Then you can see this window, and here I'm going to use the character pack free sample, this one here, and I want to download it and then import that to my game. So it is for free, which is the advantage here. So you can just follow along and you can import the character. You can see there are several animations here. So there is the walk animation and the idle animation, so the character doesn't do anything. And yeah, we're just going to use this one, and it has some scripts in it and some shaders and textures, so everything that makes up this little character that we have there. Once it is imported, you will find this character in a specific folder. So here, let's close this and go to the Super Cyan character package. So here you can go to prefabs and then simple movement, mobile, and you will find your character here. So you can basically drag him into your scene, and you can then go to your scene and you can see the character. All right, so this is our character here. You can of course reposition him to 0, 0, 0, which is where I'm going to put him, and I'm going to turn him around so we can look at it from the camera's perspective. So because this is where the camera is, and it looks towards the player now. So let's see, there we are. So the player is well visible in the game. Now, if you look at this player, and by the way, you should definitely have worked with Unity before working with Ragdolls and looking into Ragdolls. So what you can see here, this player has a bunch of components. So he has a rigid body, a capsule collider, an animator, and a script, which is currently missing a script. So there is no script assigned to it, but that is fine as of now. And the thing is, for ragdolls, you need to have the character in T-pose. So as you can see, he's not in T-pose. T-pose would be if his arms are higher up, and basically we can then apply ragdoll systems to it. And you can also see that he has a very basic capsule collider, so his arms are no colliders, and basically it's just this one collider. Even his neck is way too wide when it comes to the collision detection. So even if we just touch him here, or if a bullet touches the player here, for example, he would still be shot, or it would still trigger the collision. Okay, so if his trigger was active, or the physics would still reply to that. So the player would be pushed back, for example, by this bullet, or by whatever physics that apply to it. Okay, so the next thing we need to do is we need to go to the rig. And how do we do that? Well, let's look at this free sample. And then we have the models folder. Quick pause. The video that you're currently watching is just a fraction of the entire course that I have to offer. So I built this complete Unity masterclass course in which you're going to learn how to build real games and how to build them from scratch. So you're going to learn how to build a platformer game, how to build a Space Invaders clone, how to build a Fruit Ninjas clone and optimize it for mobile and export it for mobile as well, how to build a first-person shooter game, and finally how to build a tycoon game similar to Adventurist, which is an endless game. So if you want to become a real game developer, definitely check out the course. You can find the link in the description and you will get the course with a huge discount, so don't hesitate, as you will not only get the course, but you will also get it in a structured manner with all of the code, as well as a Q&A section with a 5-star support. So get the course now. I hope to see you there. And in there we have our character. And here we go to rig. Okay, so rig is where we can now see the rigged parts of that humanoid character. Okay, so you can see the animation type is humanoid. So it's going to be like a humanoid. And we copy the rig from another avatar. So if you have already created an avatar for another model with a rig identical to this one, you can copy its avatar definition. Now, that is not the setting that we want. What we want to have is to create from this model, because basically we have this model here and we have not created another model before or another avatar. So let's create it based on what we have here, based on this specific model. Now at this point you need to apply, because otherwise you can't configure. And once you have applied it, you can configure. And let's save our changes to the asset, because that's what we wanted to do. And you can see it says character is not in T-pose, because currently our character is, as you see there. And the cool thing is now that we can see the mapping of that avatar. So these are the different positions that will be relevant for our character, for the rig model, and for the ragdoll later on. So you can see here that the body, which is the core, consists of basic rib pelvis, then the spine, the chest, the upper chest, which is not used here, so it's grayed out, this one. You can even click on the individual parts and just see what each of those is, the left arm, upper arm, and so forth. Okay, so all of those components, you can see them here, which is pretty cool. So you can really click through it and see what they are. So basically, this generates a significantly more complex character, because before that it was just this very basic capsule collider that we had, and now we can create colliders based on what we have here and we can adjust them. So we don't have to create all of the colliders manually, they will be created for us. Now, in order for this to be in the right format, because it says character is not in T-pose, we can enforce the T-pose. So select enforce T-shape at the pose level here. So you scroll all the way down and then you go to enforce to T-pose. And once you did that, you can hit apply. And that will now enforce this T-pose for our character. This is the default pose, which is used for movement and animations inside of Unity, which is used for default animations and physics in Unity. And now we can add a Ragdoll system to our project. Okay, so I applied all of the changes. You can see we have the different elements now. This is the lower arm, the upper arm, then the hand, and all of the good stuff. So you can even go here into the specifics and click through all of the different objects that you have inside of your free male clone. Now go back to your scene, because we don't want to look at our avatar configuration, but we want to go back to the scene. So we can just click done there, and we go back to our sample scene. And here I'm going to create a new 3D object onto my male simple character here. So right click, 3D object, and here I'm going to use Rectal. Now you can see that I need to apply a bunch of objects to it. Okay, so you can see this create Ragdoll. It says pelvis has not been assigned yet. Well, it's not the only thing that hasn't been assigned yet. None of it has been assigned. Left hip, left knee, none of it has been assigned. So here you have now to assign the different body parts. And the names that you have here might be different to the names that you have inside of your character here. So now let's look at the details here. So basic rig, you can see basic rig pelvis, and you can really open it up all the way down to the lowest level. You will find that you have a bunch of different rig elements here, upper arm, forearm, all of the good stuff. Okay, so the basic rig pelvis has to go here to the pelvis. Then the rig left thigh should go to the left hip. Then the left calf should go to the left knee, and the left foot should go to left foot, or L foot stands for left foot. Okay, then we do the same thing for the right thigh, so right hip, then right calf is the right knee, and the right toe is the not the right toe, but the right foot is the right foot. You could see you could even go further because we have toes as well, head, shoulders, knees, and toes. And then we can see the rig spine here, which is a little more complicated. So the rig spine is going to be the middle spine. Then the left upper arm is going to be L arm. The forearm will be our left elbow. And we do the same thing with the right hand side. So the upper arm here is going to be the right arm, and the forearm will be the right elbow. So now we are only missing the head, and that will be our head, basic rig head, which is inside of the basic rig neck. Okay, so you need to put all of that in there, and as you can see now all of it is assigned to our player, and we have all of the different elements assigned to it. You can see there are more options available here, but these are the ones that we need for the Ragdoll here. And once you're done with that, you can click create. Okay, you can see that there is a certain strength and total mass assigned to it, and I'm just going to keep it as that. Now the next thing you can see is if you look at the character's individual parts here, so at the basic rig you can see that some of its sizes aren't really perfectly done. Okay, for example, the head is significantly larger than you would expect it. So now it's super easy to get a headshot. Actually, if you shoot at a character in a shooter game, the headshot is guaranteed almost, because the player body is significantly smaller than the head. So it's a lot easier to do headshots in this game. And you could make it a challenging game where you actually have to hit the arm or the leg of the player, because it's going to do more damage that way. So you have a bunch of different options here, but I think this is not what you would generally need it for. Now, how can we make it more clean or a better physics experience for this player with better physics collision and all of that? Well, what we can do is we can go to physics debugger. So here go to Window, Analysis, and use the Physics Debugger. Then you have to select the tick boxes here, and you can see this is the physics elements that you will now have. Okay, showing all of them allows you to see what you can see here, and you can now play around with them. So, for example, the arm. So here, this is going to be, for example, the arm. So I click specifically on the arm. You can see here it says basic rig R for arm, and there you can now make some changes to it. So for example, you can change the radius and all of the good stuff to make it a little smaller. And actually, I think this is not going to be really good dragging it around here. I think it's better to play with values manually. So 0.002 seems to be realistic here. 3 is a little too much. 2 seems to be a little more realistic for the arm. Okay, so you can play around with that value. You can play around with the center even a little bit if you feel like you want to move it slightly. That would be fine. I'm going to do the same thing with the other arm. So I had to click twice to get to it. And here I'm also going to use 0.02. So 0.002. And again, you can play around with the height as well and the center if you would like to change the center, even though you can see it's already quite good, but you can, for example, go down a little bit. So here 10, if you would like the center to be repositioned, but I think the center is quite good already. Then we need to do the same thing with the other aspects of the player. So I think the head is a very good one. So the head is significantly larger than it should be. So double click on the head, and the radius here, let's do something like 1.7. So 0.017. But then we need to change the center up a little bit. So I'm going to position it at -118. Now you could say that this is still too small. You could increase the radius a little bit, but then it's too big. So you really have to fine tune this a little bit and find the right size for you, for the specific character that you're looking at. I think this is more or less fine for the character here, because it's not the perfect sphere, right? You could edit the collider manually. You can drag it like this, then drag only specific corners. Well, you have a bunch of options here. Okay, I'm just gonna keep it like that for now. Then let's look at the other aspects of this player. So then I'm going to also change the calf, even though I have this big collider which is in my way. Okay, so the character itself has a big collider here, which is this capsule collider. So I'm just going to get rid of it. And you can see that the lower leg is a little too big. So let's change that as well. So this is the left calf that I have here, and I'm just going to play around with the values here as well. Make it a little thinner. Something like 2.5. 2 should be good. And the center, well, you can play around with the center a little bit, but I think that's fine. Now let's do the same thing here for this calf. And also I'm going to use 0.2, maybe 2.5. What did I have here? 2.5 and maybe as well. Something like that. Well, however you see fit. All right, at this point I'm going to unpack the prefab. And then I'm going to rename this character to, or this prefab to Ragdoll. All right. So let's drag this Rectal to our assets here, and we can get rid of this whole physics part. And I'm going to put it into prefabs. So trying to drag that into the prefabs folder isn't working because it's missing a reference. So it's missing a script, to be precise. And I need to add that script. So let's add that real quick. You can see it says mono script is missing. So we can either add that, Well, let's add that, and that will be simple sample character control, I'd expect. And he needs a rigid body, and I'm just going to assign that rigid body that we have there to this sample controller script. So here you can open it up and actually select the Ragdoll as the physics body here, and the animator, I'm just going to use the animator that the character has already. Now at this point we should be able to drag the character to our prefabs. There we are. Now we have the character at the prefabs, and I would like to position this player into a little world in which he can move, because right now this is a little boring. There's nothing really to see. So let's go back to the asset store, and because I'm using Unity 2019 still, I can open the asset store in Unity itself. Otherwise you have to go to the browser. Okay, so here you can just search for Toon Gas Station, but as I said, if you use Unity 2020 you have to actually do it in the browser. Okay, so this is the asset that I want to use, this Toon Gas Station. I want to position my character into this little world, so I'm just going to download this asset. Once it is downloaded, I'm going to import it, and let's import the whole gas station. And once it is imported, I will find it in my assets. Okay, so here in the Toon Gas Station, I will find a scene called Demo Scene 1. And I'm just going to save the sample scene. I don't think we are going to go back there, but let's just do it. And you can see that we have this scene here, which is our Toon Gas Station, which I really like. So this is a free asset package, or free basically world that you can use, a little map with a bunch of sweet little elements that you can now use for your game. And I'm just going to create a new character in here, or a new empty object, which I'm going to call player. And at this point we can go to our cyan character, to the prefabs, and use our Rectal character to just drag it in there. So now we have our mobile, male, free, simple movement Ragdoll. And I'm going to reposition this character. So let me see where it is. So it's over here, right? And let me reposition it a little bit so that it will be on top of, for example, this physics piece here. Okay, so it should basically fall from it. That's the idea that I have here. So let's try if this is actually going to do what I want it to do. So I'm going to reposition the player to be just on top of this little part here. You can see that it has a mesh collider. So what I want it is to drop. Okay, and then let's readjust our camera, because currently the main camera, well, I had changed the position off screen, but now let's readjust the position. So let's do 15 here. Well, that's a little too high, maybe something like 10. In this case, let's look at it. We can see that here is the player. So if we adjust the camera position a little bit towards the right hand side, and we go a little closer to the player like this, and a little down like that. Now what we can do is we can test the game and see what happens to our player. And there we are. So let me run it again. You can see our player is basically falling down. Let me change the physics or the camera position once again, adjust a little bit, go a little further down. Let's change the rotation towards the x-axis and maybe go up a little bit again. So let's run it again, and you can see how Ragdoll is doing its magic. And here at the bottom you can now see the player. So let's play around with this a little more. So what you can do is you can now see that this also has a physics body. So let's see that it drops, or our player drops on the car, just like this, and a little further to the side. So now let the player drop on the car, and he drops more. So this is pretty cool. This is quite a interesting behavior. You can see that the player moves with this Rectal behavior and he just falls off. And we have this animation, even though we never implemented any animation controller, we didn't take care of any of those things, and it still works totally fine. Alright, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you enjoy how my player is falling down and Ragdoll does its magic. Thanks a lot for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Now you're one step closer to becoming a Unity game developer, and if you haven't liked the video yet, please do so now, as well as subscribe, and also make sure to follow along in the playlist to become a real Unity developer. And if you want to fast track the whole development process of becoming a developer, then definitely check out our Unity masterclass, in which you're going to build a bunch of games, and while doing so, learn everything you need to know about game development and, well, have your first couple of projects under your belt. So check it out. The link is in the description below. You will get a huge discount, and I hope to see you in the next video.